Hi everybody, this is Kefren, your favorite French Canadian. Today I'm going to show you how to boost your FPS in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We're going to start by optimizing Windows. After that, we're going to go in the NVIDIA parameter. So now for Windows, we're going to start by writing settings. And we're going to go to the settings of Windows 11. We're going to start by gaming over there. So the first one is game bar. This one I really recommend to deactivate it. It's causing issue and also you're losing some FPS with it. Except if you have a Ryzen CPU, the 7900X3D or the 7950X3D, they're using the game bar to prioritize your CCD when you're playing video games. So super important to use that if you have those processors. If you have any other processor, just deactivate it. After that, we're going to go to graphic. We're going to change default graphic setting over there. Make sure that your hardware accelerated GPU scheduling is at on. Super important to do that. We're going to go to gaming again, capture, make sure that everything is deactivated like this. So you want to save all your resources. And the last one is game mode. Now game mode honestly is really good. Back then with Windows 10, it was a bit sketchy and a lot of like stuttering issue, but now you really need to using it to make sure that all your resources are prioritizing your video games. Another thing that I recommend, we're going to go to system, is your power. Back then, we were recommending to use the best performance, but now, honestly, just use balance. You will have better boost clock, longer boost clock. I did a couple of benchmark, balance versus best performance, and honestly, I'm getting better result with balance. So super important to do that. Another thing I want to mention is some recommendations. So make sure that your XMP profile is activated if you have it on your BIOS. Super important. Make sure that you download the latest chipset driver for your CPU if you have an AMD or Intel. Also, make sure that you update your BIOS to make sure that you have all the latest update from your CPU or your motherboard provider. Make sure that you have your Windows update up to date. And the last one is also make sure that you have the latest driver from your GPU. So if you have an NVIDIA card, Radeon, or Intel, super important. They always push new update and they optimize a lot of stuff in it. So now let's go to the NVIDIA app. The first thing that I want to recommend, I'm not a huge fan, honestly, of the overlay. So NVIDIA overlay, I really recommend to deactivate this one. Sometimes it's causing issue like stuttering, you're losing some FPS with it. So I really recommend to deactivate it. Also, we're gonna go to the control panel. I'm gonna show you some optimization that you can do. So we're gonna go to the manage 3D setting first. So the first thing that you should definitely activate it is your low latency mode. Make sure this one is at on. Another thing that I recommend is your power management mode. This one, pretty much the same thing than the one from Windows. Make sure that you're using normal. Don't use the maximum performance. I'm getting also better boost clock, more FPS with it. And the last one is your shader cache size. By default, your cache will be driver default like this. And normally it's 4 gig. I recommend to start with 10 if you don't have a lot of space on your computer. And if you have a lot of space, go with 100 gig. Honestly, it's a game changer for your cache size. You're gonna struggle less with stuttering and also that your game need to recompile and stuff like that. If you install a lot of game, this one can be very good for you. Now let's go to change resolution. The last one, really important to make sure that first of all that you're selecting the monitor, that first of all you're using the native resolution of your monitor, and also super important to have a proper refresh rate over there. By default, sometimes when you just change your monitor, it will be at 60 Hertz. So depending on the type of monitor that you buy, 144, 240, make sure that you're selecting this one. This option also, you can change it on Windows or your Radeon driver if you have a Radeon card, so no problem with that. The last one is your G-Sync. If you want to activate your G-Sync, really important to select the monitor. It needs to be compatible and you will enable over there. I'm not using G-Sync me. I always unlock my FPS because I want the lowest input lag. But if you don't like those steering line, definitely activate your G-Sync over there. So now let's go back to the game. So now inside of the game, so display mode, I really recommend to go exclusive over there. So less input lag and also less stuttering. Make sure that you're using your proper display. Make sure that you're using your video card. I know some folks are playing on the laptop. You're not supposed to see your integrated video card over there if you have a dedicated one. Refresh rate, make sure that you're using the native refresh rate from your monitor. So for an example, if you have a monitor 144 Hz and you're seeing 60 over there, you have an issue. Aspect ratio, I just play at automatic. If you have an NVIDIA compatible with reflex low latency, make sure this one is at on. Don't use any VSync. So VSync at off, you don't want to add any input lag. You can also use other technology like G-Sync or FreeSync that will synchronize your GPU with your monitor if you don't like those steering line. Menu render resolution, you can stay at native. You don't have anything else, and remove your HDR for sure for better visibility. After that, in the quality section, so you have a lot of upscaling technique. I'm going to start with NVIDIA DLSS. So if you have an RTX card 2000 series or more recent, make sure that you're playing quality. This is the best one to use. All the other ones are very blurry, so quality. And after that, just change your sharpness. If the game is too blurry, go higher. If it looks too much like an Instagram filter, go lower. Super important. So just adjust it, and you're gonna gain a nice 12 to 15% boost in your FPS with DLSS. You also have the frame generation available. It adds some input lag. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan in a game like Call of Duty or any FPS. I really like to use frame gen for solo game, but definitely do some testing. You're gonna get like 25 to 30% boost in your FPS. It's pretty crazy what you can do with frame gen, but again, not necessarily recommended for those type of game. And the other one I want to mention, it's the FSR from AMD. So AMD, really cool. We have FSR 3, so that's really nice. I recommend to use something like quality or ultra quality. You're gonna gain a nice 8 to 10% boost to your FPS. And also you have the AMD frame gen if you want to use it to have your boost, but it's pretty much the same concept from the one from NVIDIA. You're gonna add some input lag. You also have native. If you have a lot of FPS and you just want pure quality, go with native. This is the best way to play. But you're gonna lose like 2 to 3% in your FPS. If you have an NVIDIA card, you can use DLAA, and this is the best image that you can have. But again, you're gonna lose FPS, you're not gonna gain FPS. So me, I'm playing at DLAA. I'm gonna stay like this. After that, texture resolution, texture filtering, anisotropic. Just look at your VRAM usage. If you have a lot of space, just go high. If you're near from the target, maybe lower a little bit if you have to. Depth of field, make sure this one is deactivated. NURBY level of detail, go with low. You're going to gain a nice 4% boost in your FPS. Very low for particle resolution. This one can tank your FPS when you have a lot of particle and a lot of action going on. Bullet impact, I recommend to go with on because you want to see where you're shooting. Persistent effect, I recommend to go with off. Shader quality, this one you can run easily at medium. Demand texture, optimize, and normal for this one. After that, this is pretty much where you're gonna get your most of your FPS. So go very low, off, 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 low. You can expect like 30% boost with this one. And also you're gonna have better visibility to see your enemies. So just go minimum for there. After that, for the environment, you can use a near for tessellation. Volumetric quality, this one is pretty huge. If you compare high to low, you can expect like an 8% boost in your FPS. And make sure those ones are deactivated, another 5% boost. The last one is your view section. I'm not using the motion reduction. I'm playing at 104 for the FOV. If you have more FOV, you're gonna lose FPS. So make sure that you don't go too crazy. If you're struggling with your FPS, maybe just start at the default one. The default is 90. And the last thing that I want to mention, it's your world motion and the weapon motion blur over there. Make sure those one are at off. You don't want any motion blur when you're playing the game. So this is pretty much it, guys, for Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the best settings. So if you have any question, just comment in the YouTube section. Post me any question about the game. Also your rig, CPU, GPU, and RAM. I will try to help you the best that I can. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Peace.